to start off with a contentious opinion here. I know there's a lot of complicated reasons why different people dislike a movie, but I think ultimately TLJ and The Rise of Skywalker failed for the same core reason. I can explain. Don't click away.
You have failed me for the last time.
Hello potential friends, and welcome back to TheVloggingNook with me, Alexandra. We're here today to talk about a great movie that I saw in theaters recently, like so moving, so well structured, so well written. Nah, I'm just kidding. That was Little Women. Today, you and I are gonna suffer through Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, also known as an absolute tire fire. Woo! Here are some of the questions that I want to tackle over the course of this video. Did the change in Rey's parentage actually work, or did it just strip her of a more challenging personal journey? Did Finn even have his own arc in this film? Why did Rey kiss a war criminal? Is the key to fixing a divisive character just, erasing her from the storyline completely? And did this movie actually redeem Kylo Ren? Or did it just make him shed some layers and look sexier in the final scene? Along the way, I also am going to try and point out how we can fix some of the huge problems with this movie, because there were a lot. I'm mostly going to focus on character stuff, though, because that's the shit I get riled up about. So let's start off with one problem that, frankly, is too big to fix. Palpatine is back. Or, to quote Poe, the world's most exhausted man, somehow, Palpatine is back. Like, that's it. That's all the explanation we get in the movie for how he's back. Just somehow. Like, sure, they needed a new big bad because JJ clearly wasn't gonna allow Kylo Ren to follow his wish to be the Supreme Leader and be the big bad that he was clearly on after TLJ. Instead, JJ wanted Kylo to spend the entire movie chasing his ex-girlfriend around and just being like, please, please take me back, please, join me, it would be so fun if we, ruled together, please. But, Palpatine coming back as the big bad? That's wild. Honestly, I don't care that much. Palpatine is a campy, fun villain to hate, and sure, he's somehow still alive and he's just been hiding on a planet under a giant levitating cube for decades. Sure, whatever. He survived being thrown down a chute in the Death Star, and it exploding. Whatever. It's Star Wars. These things happen, I guess. But I'll tell you what I do have a serious problem with. No, Rey. Palpatine is your grandfather. Now, after TLJ dropped, a lot of people were pissed off about Rey not having any important parentage. Tons of entitled assholes were calling for JJ to rewrite that, and unfortunately he listened to them. I'm going to start off with a contentious opinion here. I know there's a lot of complicated reasons why different people dislike a movie, but I think ultimately TLJ and The Rise of Skywalker failed for the same core reason. They both failed to execute the number one goal of a movie that is a sequel, to follow up on the promise introduced in the movie before it. So, for instance, some of my main criticisms of TLJ was that it wasted Finn's potential as a character and made him go through the same emotional trajectory as the very first movie, and his storyline overall didn't impact the main events of the story at all. It also tried way too hard to be pulling haha, bet you didn't expect that, bet you didn't think that was coming, over the audience constantly, to a degree where sometimes it came across like it just wanted to be surprising more than it wanted to be, good. However, that being said, The Rise of Skywalker swung way too far back in the other direction. JJ really went, man, TLJ was a divisive movie. Instead of doing my job and continuing where Rian Johnson left off, what if I just show a complete contempt for any good ideas he introduced, and I just pretend they didn't happen? That'll definitely, fix everything. Everyone will be so happy with me. So he was like, fuck Rey being a nobody, Palpatine is her granddaddy. Fuck Rose, existing, having a personality in a life, and her and Finn, having a thing, and I'll just make that not happen anymore. But also, weirdly, I'm not going to make Finn-Poe happen or Finn-Rey happen, so I'm just going to get rid of a romantic plotline for Finn at all for, literally no reason. And also, I'm just going to reduce cool scenes like Holdo's lightspeed attack down to a Holdo maneuver, which is a super disrespectful way to refer to a sacrificial attack suicide mission. Thanks for that, JJ. I read an interview where JJ said he was trying to recreate the Darth Vader, "No, I am your father" moment with the Palpatine revelation, and like, yikes, dude, imagine being that off base. Like, the Darth Vader thing worked because Luke instantly knew it was true. It instantly made sense, and it was the worst thing he could have heard at that moment. Also, he'd been fighting Vader, and he had like a personal relationship / hatred for Vader at that point, so, you know, it had an impact. Whereas the Palpatine thing, Palpatine is like a historical figure to Rey, you know? They've never met. So when Kylo was like, "You're a Palpatine," she's like, "Oh, who? Wait, I'm a who? Oh, like that dude that Luke killed like decades ago? Really? Are you sure?" Like, it's not like, "No, I knew all along." It's like, I'm a Palpatine. I'm a whomst. Just nowhere near the same impact. And having the main character of this series be so powerful in the Force just because, you know, the universe gave her these powers is a much more interesting storyline than everyone always having to have some sort of fancy lineage just to be connected to the Force. So, how would I fix that and still have the plot of the movie make sense? Here's how it should have gone. Simple. Rey is still a nobody, and her parents are still assholes who sold her. But let's say Rey was born with a level of Force powers that hadn't been seen in the universe since Palpatine. And, like, the level of power that she had literally woke him from his, like, Sith slumber on Exegol. So, Palpatine still sends that Jedi killer dude to go hunt her down, and he still kills her parents, but let's not rewrite her parents retroactively to be so great. That seemed wrong to let her parents off the hook that way, like they sold her. That's terrible. Let's say they were scared of her powers, because they manifested even when Rey was a child, and they sold her because of that. They did one decent thing before their death by refusing to say where Rey was when Jedi Killer Man came to get them, but they still sold her out of fear. A narrative which I think is more interesting to look into, because then her struggle throughout the movie isn't just, "Oh no, I have Palpatine blood in me, I must be evil," but is actually just, "Oh no, I have such a dark, corrosive power in me that it scared my parents away. It scares everyone away, and it's drawing this hugely evil person, Palpatine, to me. You know, what if I am inherently evil because of how strong I am?" And then that makes her storyline parallel Kylo Ren's more closely, and shows that, you know, you can choose to be good, even if you shoot lightning from your hands, you know. But speaking of Kylo Ren and the hollowness of a reflection-free redemption. Look, they had to redeem Kylo Ren. I get that. He's the last Skywalker by blood, and he's the son of Han and Leia. Star Wars is ultimately for kids. They're not going to make him be evil the whole time. The problem is, the movie didn't redeem him, like at all. But he renounced the name Kylo Ren, and he went on to fight Palpatine with Rey, I hear you say. Sure. But why did he do that? It sure as hell wasn't because he suddenly felt remorse for all the murdering and killing he'd done. No. It couldn't have been that, because not once did anyone bring that shit up to his face. Not once does anyone say, "Hey, why did you murder so many people in the name of the First Order?" Not once does he have to confront his choice to be the supreme leader of a dictatorship that has been oppressing and controlling the galaxy through fear and violence. Like, he literally never has to face these choices and apologize and accept that they were wrong. Instead, this movie pretends that his goodness hinges only on whether or not he regrets killing his father, on whether he feels sad if his mother dies, and whether he's going to save the girl that he super wants to bang. Guess what? War criminals can decide that they feel bad for killing a family member, and it doesn't redeem them of those war crimes. In case you think I'm being dramatic about using the term war criminal, the very first scene we are introduced to him in The Force Awakens, he orders his troops to fire on the villagers and, quote, "kill them all." That's the definition of a war crime. He has literally murdered hundreds of people through his own hand or by his orders, and he has been part of an organization that has killed thousands, if not millions of people. Remember, like, all the planet destroying? Like, remember that? He's not just a soldier on the wrong side of a war. He was in a position of power in the First Order as it was murdering millions. Even if we take the sympathetic view of, Okay, but he was preyed upon by Snoke and, like, brainwashed, you know, when he was a young adult. Sure. Remember when he killed Snoke in TLJ and freed himself from that control? And he could choose to do literally anything, and instead he was like, what if I stayed a murderer, and instead I became top murderer as the supreme leader, and what if you joined me, Rey, and then we killed your friends together, and it was a great time? Like, wouldn't it be fun? Please be a murderer with me. More than any other part of Star Wars, this trilogy has a bizarre lack of morals. Everything is about being pulled to the dark side, or like going towards the light, without any real discussion of what that means. Even during the scene where the Rise of Skywalker is attempting to show that Kylo Ren is going back to the light when he hallucinates that he's talking to a memory of his father, I gotta say, this was one of the very few surprises that happened in the movie theater for me, because I just did not expect to see Harrison Ford. I was so excited. I was like, how did JJ get him to come back for another scene? Like, damn. Anyway, even in that conversation, there was no mention of the war crimes. Han Solo literally says something like, your mother may be gone, but what she fought for is still there. But like, what did she fight for, Han? Why is everyone so afraid of being specific about the need to destroy oppressive governments and to protect the weak and downtrodden? Like, in real life, we need that message more than ever. Ironically, one character who is not afraid to be specific about the way war affects everyday people and, like, other things in life was Rose in TLJ, and look what happened to her. But back to Kylo. As we can tell, the movie didn't redeem him. He was an evil dude who decided he wanted to save Rey more than he wanted to kill more people. That's great for Rey, but that's not redemption. So, how could the movie have written a better redemption? Remember the scene where Kylo and Rey are battling in the ocean? In that scene, Leia senses that Rey and Kylo are fighting, and she summons her last bit of strength so she can distract Kylo long enough to protect Rey so Rey can win the fight. What happens next is one of the dumbest and most underexplained moments of the film. Rey looks down at Kylo where he is panting and dying and decides, inexplicably, to heal him. And then she tells him, I wanted to take your hand. Ben's hand. And then runs off and, flies off in his ship. Like, seriously? My suspension of disbelief was absolutely broken by this scene. The weakness of the writing was so stark here. Like, who is that girl? Not my Rey. Like, sure, I believe that Rey would heal her enemy because she's just a good person, but by having her say that one line, and only that one line, it reduces her motives in that scene to purely romantic ones, again, for a mass murderer, instead of about her morals, which is just really insulting to her character. However, with some tweaks, this scene is the perfect opportunity to make Kylo's redemption seem earned, make Rey a more sympathetic and convincing character than the movie did, and make Reylo less boring and predictable. How it should have happened. Imagine, after Rey stabs him and he falls to his knees, there's silence between them. They can both feel Leia's spirit dying. They are both horrified and saddened by it. And Rey looks down at this man she once thought she understood, and she realizes that she doesn't feel sad that he's dying. She feels angry. Imagine if she takes this moment to ream him the fuck out. Just gives a big fucking speech like, why? Why wouldn't you stop chasing me? Why did you even want me to rule with you? You could have done anything in the world after you killed Snoke. You could have escaped all of this. But you wanted to be Supreme Leader. You wanted this. I know you could feel that just now. Leia's gone. Your mother's gone. Do you ever think about all the people you've killed? All the families and children on the planets destroyed by the First Order just for a show of might? Can you even feel the pain you've caused her? Is that part of you gone? And like, what if while she's talking and like going off about this, he flinches and we can see like memories flash. Like memories of him killing innocent people, which he on camera did. And like memories of him ordering them to fire on the villagers and stuff. We see him start to reflect on his actions. And she's like still going off throughout this. She's like, how could you think I would ever want to rule with you? I never wanted any of this. And maybe she's getting like really angry. And she's like, you're evil. You deserve to die. I want you to die. Like, you deserve. And maybe he tries to say her name. And he's really like super seriously not doing well. He's like dying. And she realizes that this isn't what she wants, no matter how much she hates him in this moment. So she kneels down, she heals him. And then, in the shocked aftermath, she's like, I didn't want to take your hand. I would have taken Ben's hand. But I don't want to be like you. I don't want to be a murderer. want to be a murderer, bitch. But without the bitch. And then, you know, she runs off and fucks off on his ship. Now, someone other than me could obviously write and perform that, like, type of speech better. But the difference it would make if you had something with that kind of tone is that we would see Kylo reflect on his actual actions. And we could see him start to repent, not because Rey is hot, but because she is right. And her mercy for him becomes a moral choice of her not wanting to be like him, instead of just, you know, her healing her biggest enemy because he's hot. But although that would put us, in my opinion, strides closer to actually a proper redemption for Kylo, that's not the only fucked up scene between him and Rey. Why that kiss was dumb as shit. I liked a lot about Ben and Rey's final standoff against Palpatine. Like, that was the first time I saw the physical appeal of Kylo Ren. I was like, oh, okay, he's kind of hot when he's in a billowy shirt and he's desperate. Whew. And to be quite frank, I loved when Rey passes her lightsaber through the Force bond. She just, like, reaches behind her, and then it's gone. Like, and then he's got it. Like, sorry, that was cool. Like, there were some cool moments in this movie that, like, felt real Star Wars-y, and I liked that. But that being said, that kiss at the end of this movie was the biggest bullshit of my entire life. Like, really? Really? This movie thinks it did enough to earn a kiss between Mr. Mass Murderer and, like, our heroine, who has spent the entire movie running away from her ex-boyfriend and physically fighting him off while yelling, "Please leave me alone." Okay. And not just that. Rey initiates the kiss. Like, the disrespect, the terrible writing, it, like, jumps off the screen. I get that they were falling in love in TLJ. I'm not going to deny that. Back when, you know, she thought that he was just let down by Luke and was taken advantage of by Snoke, and she thought, oh, there's a good person hiding in there. I see the real him. I'll just draw it out of him. But that illusion was shattered for her by his behavior at the end of the last movie with, you know, the manipulative, "You're nobody, but not to me." And then, you know, his decision to be supreme later, and then the fact that he attacks her and her friends and tries to wipe out the whole resistance, like, immediately after she's like, "Peace, don't want to talk to you." Like, as we just discussed at length, he never apologizes for those actions. So what, you're telling me Rey's just gonna kiss an abusive mass murderer because he saved her? I mean, the only way it makes sense is as a pity kiss. Like, in Love Actually, when, like, Keira Knightley's character runs after that loser dude with, like, the placards, and she gives him a kiss and then runs back to her husband. Except Rey is like, oh, you're gonna die, and the only thing that made you try to be good was how literally hot I am. Because it definitely couldn't have been, you know, my morals and ethics, because I never actually talked to you about those. And I never called you out on the actual mass murdering, because the writers of this film are really stupid. So, like, I'll say thank you for, like, the life-saving with this one kiss. I mean, honestly, maybe it was a pity kiss, because it's not like she had much of a reaction to him dying, other than to look slightly surprised. It doesn't have the same effect. This is clearly not tea. Real talk, though, that is so depressing. If the movie is actually trying to get us to think that they're in mutual love, and then he just topples over dead, and she doesn't even, like, mourn or talk to her friends about it, like, dang! Either way you look at it, this movie's just fucked about all of this. Not to mention, by having her kiss him, it makes it seem like he only fought against Palpatine and joined the good guys for the reward of her sweet, sweet lips, and not because, you know, he understands he was being evil. It's just such fucking boring and lazy and offensive writing. Y'all, I am so depressed. So, how would I rewrite that scene? Here's how it should have happened. He crawls up, he sees her body, he's like, oh no, and he grabs her and puts his hand in her chest to try and, like, bring her back to life. And she opens her eyes, and she sees him there above her so close. And she flinches. Just a little. Because, you know, from her point of view, what if she had imagined him coming back to help her before with Palpatine? What if he was here to hurt her now? A flinch and wariness makes much more sense than instant joy at seeing him. And he's not hurt by her response. He gets it. He's just happy to see her alive. There's a couple thoughts I had on what I'd want him to say here, just before he dies. I kind of wanted him to say something like, I couldn't fix it all, but one good thing. I wanted to do one good thing. And then just die. But that felt a little on the nose. Instead, imagine she opens her eyes, sees him, like, super close, and flinches a little, and then he simply smiles at her and says, it's okay. It's Ben. And then her expression clears, and she, like, looks like maybe she's gonna reach for him, and then he dies. And he dies with a smile as himself, as his parents' son. 'Cause, like, see, by him declaring Like, it's me, it's Ben, at the end of his life. It reframes his whole redemption arc, not about getting the girl and getting rewarded through a kiss, but about finding himself again, finding goodness again, choosing good, not just to win someone's affections, but just to know who he is, just to be who she believed he could be. Like, if you're a Reylo shipper and you're somehow still watching this video, I mean, you must hate me, so I don't know why you would be, like, come on, is that not better development for the dude you seem to like? Like, come on. I'm just trying to make this dude a better character and more of a human being. I just want these characters to actually make sense. Speaking, though, of other characters that don't make sense, are Finn and Rey even friends? This movie was weird about Finn and Rey. Listen, I'm not arguing for Finn and Rey to happen. While I would have been fine with them getting together, I don't actually ship it. But it felt like their friendship itself was sidelined in this film, and their friendship has always been like an emotional tether for the story throughout like the entire trilogy. Rey treats Finn pretty shittily in this movie, and it just kind of makes her look bad. Remember that time she abandoned him in the ocean? Like, she heals Kylo and like gets in his ship and just like flies away, and like Finn and Janna, the ex-stormtrooper, are just like stranded in the ocean with Kylo Ren. Like, if they wanted to give the impression of like, oh, she's just flying away without looking back because she thinks, you know, Finn's better off without her, that she's too dangerous, you could at least include a shot where she like looks back while she's like flying away and she sees that Finn is like safe, like he and Janna are getting out of the way and stuff, and she like looks regretful and like maybe hesitates and then like looks away and like keeps on flying, right? You know, just something to show that she thought about him at all. You know, that she's not just a totally shitty friend who he's always running after. At one point in the movie, she confides in him that she's like struggling with the dark side and stuff, and then she ends up snapping at him that, you know, everyone says they know me, but I feel like no one does. I get that fight. That makes sense with how she's feeling at that time and what she's going through. But it's weird that that fight doesn't really get resolved. Like, there's no moment later on in the film where he's like, no, I do know you. I know you are good. Like, I know you are more than this, better than this, that you are part of the light. And she hears and believes him. Towards the end of the film, there's the implication that Finn has force sensitivity, which would have been so cool if they did more with that. Imagine if when Rey needed strength to resist Palpatine and to fight him in the catacombs below, Finn could sense her battle, external and internal, and he was able to reach out and tell her that everyone believed in her, that he believed in her, that he knew she was good. It would have been so much better if her found family became her strength, and the movie didn't feel this need to divide her and Finn so clearly just to emphasize her bond with Kylo. Like, it's possible to write a character having multiple complex relationships with people at the same time. I promise. Clearly it's not possible for JJ though, because the trio interactions in this film were also weird. The trio that could have been. I was so thrilled to see Rey and Poe and Finn interacting and going on adventures together that it took me a hot minute watching this film to realize that sometimes they just really weren't gelling. Something was off about the way a lot of their interactions were written, and I think it boils down to a couple things. Using bickering as a shortcut to intimacy without then actually including any intimate scenes with any emotional revelations, and instead just assuming that the audience would mistake quips for closeness. Sometimes, particularly with Finn and Poe, like, you know, the snappy back and forth banter felt natural. But often, particularly when it involved Rey and Poe, the, like, bickering didn't feel comedic, it just felt like they didn't like each other, which would have been fine if it was a plot point. They're both pilots, and they both became friends with Finn independently of each other before they met each other. So there could have been, like, a natural sort of tension of the two of them arguing over plans, and then being like, well, Finn agrees with me, and he's like, I don't want to be caught in the middle of this. And then we could have seen, you know, Rey and Poe grow to respect and trust each other. But none of this really happened because all the trio interactions moved so quickly and were so action-filled that we rarely just got to sit with these characters. Number two is that Rey kept leaving the trio to go fight with Kylo. Like, literally every time it seemed like there was a chance for JJ to write a scene where Rey and Poe and Finn interacted interestingly as human beings, Rey would be like, I sense a douchebag and I need to go fight him. Like, I got so bored of Kylo just turning up constantly, like, stop monopolizing her. And three, all of the main emotional moments for members in the trio happened between them and outside characters. And often with a brand new character who was clearly invented just to set up a Disney Plus show. Poe has a heart-to-heart with Zori, the no-homo plot device meant to show that no matter what Oscar Isaac wants, Poe is straight. God damn it, Disney says so. Finn has a heart-to-heart with Janna, the new defected stormtrooper we meet. While there's nothing wrong with these characters, introducing new people in the final film of a series already crowded with characters whose relationships and, characters aren't fully fleshed out yet is just so frustrating. Not to mention all the weird drop plot lines among the trio. What the fuck was Finn going to tell Rey that he didn't want to say in front of Poe? Why did Poe seem so pissed about Finn wanting to tell Rey something in private? It's like JJ was trying to have every single ship cake and eat it too, without actually delivering on any of them or explaining any of them. He really sat there and was like, ooh, does Finn love Rey? And is Poe jealous because he likes Finn, or is he jealous because he likes Rey? Oh my god. This is all so tantalizing, and it's definitely not stupid because none of these characters are going to get together. And hinting at some sort of inter-trio romantic tension is, without actually, resolving any of it, is such good writing, isn't it? Wow, right? No. Did Finn even have a storyline in this film? He was the main male lead in the first film, and now in this one, he doesn't even really have his own arc. Think about it. He was on screen a lot, and he did a lot of things, but did anything important happen to change his character from the start of the film to the end? Not really. Little things happen. He met the other stormtroopers, and he hints that he might be force sensitive, but none of it was developed, none of it was followed, and the unanswered question of what he wanted to tell Rey is just another drop plotline for him. Also, his final hug with Poe was stunningly beautiful, but how come there was a final trio hug, but no Finn-Rey hug at the end? I don't understand. That's just disrespectful. I just don't... Why is everybody disrespecting Finn so much? But on the topic of disrespect, who is the most disrespected character in this entire film? Justice for Rose Tico. I got so mad that I changed my entire outfit. That's not true. This is a whole other day. So, Rose Tico, who had a pivotal role in TLJ, has 76 seconds of screen time in The Rise of Skywalker, a movie that is almost 2.5 hours long. If you think what JJ did to Rose in this film was deserved or in any way okay, you can meet me in the fucking pit, because we're going to fight. One of the things that makes me so mad about this is that a bunch of fucking misogynistic and racist dickwads on the internet decided that they, for whatever reason, hated Rose in TLJ, and they harassed the actress, Kelly Marie Tran, off of social media completely. And then this year she has to do a press tour for a movie that she only has around 1 minute of screen time in. I don't give a shit if you liked her character in TLJ. Personally, I thought she was great. I thought Rose was charismatic, interesting, and full of heart, even if the storyline that she and Finn were given to execute wasn't the best storyline. But let's say you thought her character was underdeveloped, that's fair. Then one would assume that in response to that, in The Rise of Skywalker, a good writer would develop her and write her better. But JJ didn't want to do the job of being a good writer. He wanted to erase everything Rian Johnson did and just completely avoid anything that fans had disliked in TLJ. So Rose was sidelined. Her romantic storyline with Finn wasn't just dropped, it was erased as if it had never happened. Apparently, in a book between the two films, they explain that the two of them just decided to be friends, but guess what? Most of your audience doesn't read those books, so it's really terrible writing to not even throw in a line there explaining for a casual movie-going audience why Finn and Rose are barely talking, why there's no kissing happening. How hard would it have been to have Finn say to Poe, things have been weird between me and Rose ever since we decided just to be friends. Also, Rose wasn't just sidelined. Her spot in the narrative was blatantly taken by other characters. She was replaced. In the final battle, she should have been by Finn's side taking down that navigation ship, not Janna the Stormtrooper who we literally just met. Even in her role as one of the voices at the home base, she was completely outshone. Dominic Monaghan's brand new character had so many lines that could have just gone to her. Rose never got to talk to Rey on screen, which both actresses said they were excited about. Rose is a mechanic, and yet in the opening mission to get info from a spy, there's a mechanic on the Falcon, and it's a giant slug who none of us have met before. Rose was never forced by proximity into a conversation with Poe, who was responsible for her sister's death. Come on! The interesting tension in that! The possibilities! And Rose, who we already know is good at speeches and inspiring people, wasn't even, considered to go on the trip with Lando to get reinforcements. She would have been fucking great at that. Like, when you look at it, JJ really had to work hard to make sure that Rose never got anything interesting to do, because there are so many obvious ways to include her. Like, I'm almost impressed with the callousness that went into scrubbing her completely from the script. But you know what the worst part is? The excuse that the creators gave for her role being so minuscule. Apparently, they filmed a bunch of scenes with Rose and Leia talking, but because the Leia footage was so clunky to use, they had to cut a ton of it. Yeah, that's right. They tried to blame their own inability to write anything for Rose to do on Carrie Fisher's death. That's great. Love that. I do want to be clear that I'm not saying that JJ reduced Rose's role because he agreed with the racist harassment of Kelly Marie Tran in any way. But a side effect of her character being so minimized in this movie, after the backlash against Kelly Marie Tran as a person, is that those same asshole human beings who did that probably went to the theater and saw The Rise of Skywalker and felt vindicated. Felt like they'd been right to be absolute shitholes to her. Because clearly, the powers that be agreed with them. She was such a terrible character, they've taken her out of the movie. We were right. I may have issues with other plot and character things, but this is the one thing that I'm genuinely furious about. Also, I can't even talk about CGI Leia. The whole audience knew when a scene was written around pieces of unused Leia footage/dialogue, and the effect was awkward. I love seeing Carrie Fisher again, and the concept of her training Rey was great, but they just used way too many scenes with her, and the effect couldn't hold up. Yeah. God, I'm so depressed. Is this video over yet? Tatooine, the most depressing ending. No, it's not! Because we need to talk about why Rey is alone on a sand planet again at the end of this trilogy. You know, I don't even care that much that she said Rey Skywalker when she was asked who she was. Like, it's eye-rolling inducingly cheesy, but I can accept it, whatever. What I cannot accept is, why is she alone? I'm sorry, is the implication that she's gonna live here now in isolation with just BB-8 for company? And just wallow in the past instead of moving forward with her real found family, Finn and her friends in the Resistance? Here's how to fix this scene. Literally, just make her not alone! Like, you can show the Falcon touching down on Tatooine, and then you have an interior shot where we can see Finn and Rey talking, we can hear Poe and C-3PO and Rose in the distance somewhere else in the ship, and Finn's like, do you want me to come with you? And Rey is like, no, I need to do this part by myself. Just give me a couple minutes. Or something. She goes out to the hut, she buries the lightsabers, whatever. Maybe that person stops by and is like, who are you? And then before she can answer, we hear someone yell, Rey! And we turn and we can see, the twin suns of Tatooine right above the Falcon at the horizon. And we can see her friends there on, the gangplank waving at her. Sorry, this is really cheesy too, but, it's nice, right? And she, starts running back towards them, and, this person's like, Rey, who? And maybe if you want to be fucking cheesier, even cheesier, maybe she still says, it's Rey Skywalker, because she sees those Force ghosts of Luke and Leia and is like, yeah, I like those people. Or maybe she says, just Rey, but she's happy about it this time because her friends are here, and her real found family isn't gonna be people who've died, she loves Luke and Leia, but they're dead, but the people she's going to move forward with. Just let her be happy, let her not be alone. Is that so much to ask? We're gonna wrap this up, folks. Okay, I desperately need this video to be over now. I haven't gone over most things, in fact, because it takes me so long to talk about one thing in this film. But we're just gonna do a lightning fire round. Hux being the spy was great. The comedic value of his delivery of, I'm the spy, was beautiful. I wish his character got more to do, but he milked every single moment, so I'm here for it. C-3PO absolutely has my heart. He carried the first half of the film. Everything he said was great. I wanted more. I just love him. The end. Also, Babu Frick was funny. I love that Luke's Force Ghost raised his own X-Wing out of the water and she flew that to Exegol. Pretty much the only time I got emotional in the theater was when Chewie reacted to Leia's death. Like, I'm sorry, I actually cried in the theater. I know some people were pissed off that Chewie, like, they did the bait and switch with Chewie's death, but I can't be mad about that, even though it was really badly done, because I just was so happy to see he was alive again. Also, the cinematography of, like, Kylo and Rey talking to each other while they were in different locations, and she was in his, like, Darth Vader, you know, Nazi artifacts room. That was really cool how they filmed that. Also, I didn't talk about Finn Poe, but this message right here is to the Disney overlords. You guys are fucking cowards. Finn Poe would have been beautiful. It makes sense for their characters. Oscar Isaac was ready to literally pull a ring out of his pocket and propose to Finn at any opportunity. You could have literally just made them kiss in their final hug at the end and then, like, cut it out for China if you wanted to do that, because you guys are so interested in making money, but you're not interested in telling good stories. So, yeah. Don't talk to me about wanting to include queer rep, because you guys are cowards. Bragging that you included a 2-second gay kiss in the background is bullshit, and J.J. Abrams, fight me in the pit. Okay, I'd love to do another video talking about the failure of world building in this trilogy and the fact that they never quite properly deal with the idea that the entire First Order army is made of brainwashed people stolen as children. You know, that's fine, but I'm really tired right now, so I'm probably just gonna take a nap. And, like, subscribe if you want. See you guys next time. Bye! You could have made one of the new characters be queer. Dominic Monaghan could have talked about his husband. Jana could have been dating one of her ex-Stormtrooper women friends. Or, you know, Zori has a wife, because let's be real, Zori is gay. Disney can't stop that. I will marry her myself to make it happen. God, I need to lie down. Please fight with me again. Like, we can fight Palpatine together. It'll be such a good time. Please. Rey. Come on. I have no personality without you. Like, literally none. It's just murder and Rey.